On the 5th of October 2012 at exactly 9:28 a.m., something would happen that will shock the entire country of Nigeria. So, Tekena, Ugonna, Chidiaka, and Lloyd were all friends and students at the University of Port Harcourt in Nigeria. Now, however, Ugonna would often spend time at Tekena's place because Tekena had moved out of the school hostel because armed robbers and some thieves would often break into his room at night to steal his stuff. So he thought it wise that he would leave the campus and stay outside. But however, they were still roommates because often on weekends they would come and spend time together and stay in one place. So these four guys were all firstborns of their family, like their family was all looking up to them. Lloyd, however, was the only son of his mother, while Ugonna was also the only son of his father. Now, Ugonna has gotten a scholarship to go study for a few months in London, while his friend Lloyd, his best friend, Lloyd was actually his best friend. He was more closer to Ugonna than the other guys. So, and Lloyd was also a rapper who was also supporting Ugonna while he was out there. Okay, so now Ugonna would often get money where he was in London, and he would send some sneakers and jeans and clothes to Lloyd to help him and sell. Now, Lloyd met a guy called Bright, or he was also called Wisdom, on campus. Now, this guy actually agreed that he was going to help them and sell most of these jeans and sneakers, and they were going to share something, like he was going to have his own part of the money and stuff like that. So they agreed and they sent all the jeans and sneakers to him to help sell for them. Bright, on the other hand, he sold these things and he didn't give any money to the boys. So they got angry. It has been months and Bright is not saying anything about these dresses and stuff that they had sent to him to help them sell. So Ugonna was pissed off and he came back to Nigeria. He continued school and he was visiting often his friend Lloyd, who agreed to help him recover his debts from Bright. Now they would often go to Bright's house and they would not meet Bright, but what really happened here was Bright was living in a very, very, very dangerous community where there were a lot of thieves that would often break into people's houses, armed robbers, people who rape women and stuff like that. So they had a vigilante group, and the people were so wicked and believed so much in jungle justice. Now Ugonna and Lloyd, they never had this in mind because then they were going during the day and people were looking at them saying, okay, these are university students. They would often come here, these guys as university students, and then they would come and steal and do stuff like that. But that was not what Ugonna and Lloyd had in mind. Now, on October 4th, 2012, these four guys planned out something and decided to go recover their money from Bright. Since they have been going and Bright is giving them fake promises, they should come this day, and when they come this day or the certain Friday, certain Tuesday, they are not going to meet Bright home. So they plan to surprise him at his house at night or at the early mornings around 5 a.m. Little did these guys know that this was going to be a very, very bad idea. Their friends, their sisters tried to warn them not to do this because that community is very dangerous, but they wouldn't listen. So on that fateful day, these four guys left home. Now they were actually leaving 5 of them in that room, but one of them had gotten a call that day to come to work, and he was being threatened that if he does not show up, he's going to lose his job. But he was never in support of them going to that community at that time. So basically, his spirit never told him to follow those guys and go to Wisdom's place or Bright's place to get that money. So when they left, and then they went and met a guy who agreed to accompany them in case of security. They never knew this guy was going to come alongside a gun. He came with a gun. Now when they got to Bride's house, one thing led to the other. They were angry and pissed off that Bride does not want to give them their money, and they began like fighting, and Bride had to leave the room. He left the room, he ran out, and he was shouting, thieves, thieves, thieves. Then the guy who they had brought had an issue with Bride. He hated Bride, so he had shot a gun at Bride, but this gun did not touch Bride. So he left and he ran away, leaving the 4 boys. Now when the vigilante groups heard the sound of the gunshot, they immediately rushed to where Wisdom's house was. When they got there, they met the 4 guys and they immediately concluded that they were armed robbers. These vigilante groups, they took their ID card, took everything that would make them or would make people recognize them as students. So they actually took these guys to the palace, where they locked them up from that time when they caught them about 5:45 a.m. They locked them till about 7 a.m. when the chief was awake, so that they would decide their fate. Now when the chief was finally awake, the chief said they should go to Wisdom's place or Bride's place and find out what really happened, if they are students or they are armed robbers, and from then they are going to conclude. But Wisdom had took his laptop, including his phone, and he ran away. So when these guys came to Wisdom's place, including the vigilante group, they never found Wisdom. So the angry mob began beating these boys, beating them so bad, dragging them in the mud. They were begging and pleading and saying they were students and everything. Now the Nigerian police came to the scene. When they saw this, they could do nothing. We don't really understand why the police could do nothing or why they refused to do anything. But the angry mob kept on beating these boys, dragging them in the mud, throwing stones and rocks at them, while the boys constantly pleaded that they were students. Tekenna's sister, who was a passerby, she saw this incident and then she came to the place and she was telling them, hey, this is my brother, I know him. But the angry mob overshadowed her and nobody could hear her scream, nobody could hear her cry, and nobody could actually listen to her. On the other hand, Tekenna, Lloyd, they had recognized somebody who had been helping them on campus, like one of the photocopiers on campus. They told him, we know you know us, we come and photocopy from you in school, so you should tell them that we are students and we are not armed robbers. This guy refused, that he does not know them. Ugonna also saw somebody who works on campus repair shoes, and Ugonna had like an issue with his shoe, so he took it to this guy to repair it. So he knew that this guy was the one who was supposed to save them. But what did the guy do? The guy said he does not know them, and they were the ones throwing rocks, beating these boys, until they put tires around their neck and set them ablaze. And that was the end of the 4 boys. Now, about 4 days later, after this incident had happened, the students of the University of Port Harcourt were so pissed off about what had happened to their friends and why they were just being killed like mere criminals, and they had done nothing actually. So they had to do a protest. Since the police, the government was not doing anything about it, they went into this community called ALUU community and burnt down everything. It destroyed buildings, destroyed cars, destroyed houses, and basically this was one of the largest protests Nigeria ever had of students. After this incident, a few people were arrested, including the chief, the village chief, and 4 of them who were responsible for the lynching of the boys were actually sentenced to death. The remaining of them were sentenced to life imprisonment. The chief was locked up. A few months later he was released because they really did not find anything he did wrong, although he could have stopped it. Now Wisdom, however, was never prosecuted. He was never found anymore. Like, nobody knows if he's still alive or he's dead. Probably if he's still alive, his conscience must be judging him somewhere right now. What this video is trying to say, what I'm trying to say here is, Jungle justice is a beast, and we have to do everything to stop it. Let the police, let the court decide people's fate. They are humans like you. You cannot kill somebody because a person stole a phone. You cannot kill somebody because a person stole maybe an animal, a livestock, or something like that. Yes, stealing is bad, but let the police do their job. And yes, please hit the subscribe button, and for more videos like this, just subscribe and turn on the notification bell